Now tonight we're looking at the demise of glossy magazines. This past week came the news that publisher Media24 would close 5 magazines and 2 newspapers, among them Men's Health, Women's Health, while Drum magazine, first issued in the 1950s, would be published in digital format only. Titles like Fair Lady and True Love will be outsourced and restructured, and more than 1,000 jobs affected. Now in May, Caxton Publishing announced that it would also exit the print media business, affecting titles like Bona. This followed hot on the heels of Associated Magazine Publishing closing its doors after nearly 40 years in the business. On the line to look at what's happening now and chat about the golden age of magazine publishing and the glamour and insights that they brought into many lives is freelance journalist Sue Grant-Marshall. Sue, thank you for being with us. When you were working on magazines, did you ever picture that the end would come? Ms. Grant-Marshall, can you hear me?
Yes, hello, I'm Sue Grant-Marshall.
Sue, my first question to you, I don't think you heard, but you were in the magazine business when you were working on magazines. Did you ever picture this demise?
No, I didn't. And it's because I was on Fair Lady, and it, at the time, which was in the late 1980s, it had a circulation, and it was every 2 weeks. It was fortnightly, of about 200,000. And today, I don't have the latest ABC figures at hand, but I know it's dropped to something like 40,000.
Sure. And I mean, over the years, did you start suspecting, okay, magazines, they were a part of my life, but they're in trouble?
Yes, I did, because towards the end, I left in, I'm trying to think now, in 1999 to go freelance. I've worked for lots of magazines and newspapers since then, and I know, I realized that, I mean, magazines were dying as I sort of wrote for them, not because I was writing for them, of course.
Yeah.
But they were going out. They were dying, and it was always that tricky balance of having high enough circulation figures that would attract advertisers, and this Nationale Pers Media24 did manage to do very well. They sold advertising in a kind of a package. Caxton also, very successful. Household names like Woman and Home, Garden and Home, Bona, etc., etc. And Drum. I mean, there's an iconic, absolutely iconic title. That's going digital. It's in the Caxton stable magazines like, and I realize I sound very kind of out of the arc when I say this, but like Country Life, I feel you've got to hold that magazine in your hands and see the countryside and the trails and all the rest of it. And then Cosmo in the, Associated Magazine stable. Cosmo, I think most, and it was young women it was targeted at, although lots of men read it, they denied it because it had lots of sex, and it was very successful.
So I guess the idea is all of this is online, but, is digital the same? Can it replace, like you say, those glossy covers holding the magazine in your hand, even if it's at the doctor's rooms?
Yes, where it often is, although not in the time of COVID. Everything's got to be sprayed. So if you go to the doctor now, there isn't a single magazine or newspaper there. However, I think that it's, digital is the way to go. My daughter's generation, for instance, millennials, I mean, they don't buy magazines. They don't read newspapers. They keep up to date with everything that's going on Instagram, etc., etc. And then here's my laptop. They simply open it up and they look at gorgeous pictures of the royal family, etc., etc. And they're quite happy to see it on a screen. They won't, on the whole, miss magazines. But I must just say, that in the Nationale Pers, Media 24 stable, Sari, Fair Lady, and is another magazine. True Love, of course. They are going to come out every 6 months. Instead of coming out every month, it'll be every 6 months. So you can still get print version and lie in the bath and read it.
People are looking back. Of course, with a magazine, you can have that iconic picture on the front, and the whole world can see it. The incredible magazine moments. What were some of the highlights for you?
In the magazine world generally, well, because of my age and where I come from, what sold magazines like I don't believe really anything before since was Princess Diana. And in fact, the number of local and international magazines who continue to put Princess Di on the cover and sell like hotcakes was extraordinary, her pulling power. I doubt even Prince Harry or Meghan, I was going to call her Princess Meghan, but of course she isn't, would have that same kind of pulling power. What were the moments? Well, on Fair Lady, I had been on the Star. I really enjoyed doing investigative journalism. So highlights for me were what was going on in the country at the time, and that was apartheid coming to its end and brave people standing up and speaking out about what was going on. Otherwise, we reflected and often anticipated what was lying down the track generally in terms of what was happening in South Africa and the world. We bought all the magazines, I think, except maybe Landbou Weekblad, bought a copy in from international publishers. So, yeah, we were very on the ball, timeous, and people, I won't say they queued like they do for the latest iPhone today, but they had their magazines. They would be very upset if they didn't have their magazines. And Francis, that brings me to another point, which is that part of the demise of the magazine industry has been, you rely on subscriptions to keep up a steady flow, be able to say to your advertisers, this is how many magazines we're selling. Well, the demise of the post office kind of put a big cruel stamp on that because it wasn't regularly delivering.
Yeah. Well, thank you for remembering and looking back, and I guess your last answer also defying that view that magazines were just all fluff. Some important issues for the country as well. That was freelance journalist Sue Grant Marshall. Now,